Don't start shit if you ain't ready to get hit.
Or allow me to drop some knowledge.
We have to disagree. I saw the Sailor Moon outfit.
That's like, that's like when you ask people now about WWE, the people that don't still watch it, they always say, "Oh, the Attitude Era." That's all they say. I stopped watching it.
What saps to
All
me is
right.
that I like to me the Attitude Era. I was already a teenager. You know, I was like already up there in age, and so like for me, it was like, man, even with that being said, like I remember like the '80s, like World Class, NWA, Crockett, WWF, of course. But it was like that to me was like, oh, that was a great era. Although the Attitude Era was amazing. If you were there, yeah, you had to be there.
Right. All right. We'll get this started. What's shaking my BMF army is your favorite Jedi, the BMF goddess. Uh, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you all are enjoying your summer so far. BMFing every chance you get. And to this day, still some people don't know what that means. So I'm gonna clarify again. BMF, I got that from my favorite wrestler of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It means bad motherfucker. So now you know. Okay. Today I have pro wrestler, the Collassal Mike Law joining me, a wrestler that I have a lot of respect for. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How are you? How is the injury progressing? Can you tell us what happened?
All right, we can start off with how it happened. And I can honestly tell you, 24 years, this has never happened. So this is a whole new experience for me. On May 31st at May the real villain reign. Wow, I butchered the hell out of that for Battle Club Pro in the Bronx. It was a three-way match with myself, Alex Rivera, and Anthony Gamble. And I've done moonsaults all over the place, like on ladders, on chairs, on people, you name it. Like I was I going, I know it's a little bit far off the path, but I was a big fan of Sabu and growing up. So that was like the one thing, him and Jericho, like the moonsaults are always the thing that I love doing. So I out of nowhere, I just did a springboard acai moonsault to the outside. I overshot it a little bit, and I clipped the living shit out of my legs. I ended up putting a hole in my left leg, which got stitched up, and then unfortunately, I ended up fracturing my right tibia. And so we had surgery the next day. I had never had surgery, and I'll tell you, the break itself didn't even hurt. I hate it's I don't want to sound like I'm a lot tougher than I am. Um, I do consider myself tough in certain ways, but like I wouldn't even say that was the worst pain I've ever been in. It wasn't. Anyone who saw me. I was in the back. I was cutting promos, and I was trying to hoping that it wasn't what I thought it was, but I knew what it was. As soon as I went down, referee Stephen Dumang, who deserves a lot of props, like dove to the outside to see if he had to throw the X up. And I've always been my mentality's been like, even if I'm unconscious, find a way. There's no way I was gonna let him throw that X up. I even told him, I go, give me a few minutes, let me get my bearings. I was trying to adjust the boot. I heard
You wanted
crunching.
to continue.
Oh hell yeah! No, my biggest regret was not continuing. I got that annoyed me to this moment. Um, but as I was shifting the boot, I heard like crunching, and I felt the bone move, and I go, yeah. I
Oh
go,
my
I
God.
think Joe Kim Morales was right in front of me. He was doing commentary. I go, brother. So luckily I had Andy Lee Ray and Chris Kaluta, part of my Colossal Collective crew, help me to the back. The match finished. No X's were thrown. No X's in sights, ladies and gentlemen. I just couldn't let it be. Like I wasn't. I didn't did not believe I was in that dire situation that you needed to throw an X. I think an X is definitely mandatory for the right situation, but it wasn't for that. But I ended up doing I ended up, you know, going to the emergency room, and it was what it was. It was a fracture, and then they had surgery the next day. But honestly, it's a
So it
pain
was
in
a
the
bad
ass.
fracture then, right?
What was that?
It was a bad fracture since you needed surgery.
When I went to the emergency room, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, we're setting up the OR for you." I go, "For what?" I'm like, can we talk about this? I wasn't really sure that this is what I wanted to do. And I remember sitting down, my fiance and I were sitting down, and I was like, she was nervous for, I was nervous for me. I've never been put to sleep like that. I don't know what to expect. And then the next day, the surgeon, they're 10 a.m., they're like clockwork. They're like, they're going in. I go, wait a second. I have a lot of concerns and questions. Like, I've never had surgery before. I don't, what options do I have? And the doctor was very adamant about saying, if you put you in a cast, uh, for someone like you who's active, who's fairly young, and needs to have the mobility, there's no guarantee you're going to get that same mobility. You're going to be in a cast for a lot longer period of time. You may not even heal properly. And then I think the last thing was like, you could also get a blood clot and die. And I go, sign me up. You know what I mean? And in
Yeah.
all fairness, I knew looking at what was going on, I go, there really wasn't that many options. Having someone like Dr. Schneikrout, who give him credit. He was the one that fixed me up. Um, he's like, he goes, the level of the level. I don't want to say this of like egoism. It's not egoism. It's confidence that a lot of these surgeons have is another level. Like he's like, this isn't brain surgery, and this isn't heart surgery. So he wasn't wrong. I mean, literally, I shut my eyes and I woke up in recovery, and that was that quick. And I didn't. It wasn't really. It was the only time it was very uncomfortable was the foul, not the second week after. It got so swollen and black and blue. It was brutal. It looked like a leg that looks like it's about to be amputated. You know what I mean? Like it was that
Yeah.
severe from the not only the impact of the actual break, but also the surgery. So,
Mhm.
but so far so good. I can't complain.
Is it in a cast now?
No, I
No.
wear a
Oh,
boot. I wear a boot when I go out, and I have my crutches. I've been pushing myself a lot more than probably should to get a quicker recovery because, for me, I need to be active. Like it's not even a wrestling thing. I'll have some. You're probably gonna ask about that at some point. It's not even about the wrestling at this point. It's about getting back to being independent, being able. I've been blessed. I have a great house and everything, and I got to think about that stuff and my family. Like I don't want to put in a position where like I have to rely on anybody. And that's what family's for, but I'm not that person, you know what I mean? Like I can't be laying around feeling sorry for myself, you know?
right. I get that. Well, I'm glad it wasn't worse, and I'm glad you did choose the surgery. Did they give
Yeah.
you like a time frame for you, or or it's just going
So
depending on the
the end
healing?
of this month, we're gonna reevaluate what's going on. I dropped it on my Instagram and on my Twitter as far as like some of the things that I'm doing on the site to kind of help with the healing process. I mean, again, everyone do their research. I'm not here saying that I'm a medical professional. I'm just doing something that I think has worked for me and some people that have used BPC 157 and TB 500, which are peptides that are helping with the healing process, with the bone and tissue repair of the surgery and the breakage. So I feel like it has been helping. You know, the recovery and the flexibility, especially in my knee. It was the size of a cantaloupe. I mean, I couldn't bend this freaking thing if my life depended on it, and it's slowly getting that mobility back. Which, you know, for me, it's like it sucks. Like one leg is bigger than the other. It's weird looking.
Yeah.
It's so weird looking. It's like one. I'm all discombobulated right now. So as far as recovery time, you know, it really goes according to the individual. You know what I mean? I myself, and it's something I'm going to put out there. I'll put it on here first. I'm very adamant, and I said this on my live a while back. I was like, I'm going to take time off from everything just to kind of refocus on getting myself back to where I need to be. And if I can't be, but what was that?
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Oh my God, scared me. I thought that was some. Oh, that's you back there. Jesus. Holy shit, that's a lot of rain.
Not that. Okay.
No, no worries, no worries.
Somebody.
Yeah, but I look like a weird action figure right now. So I'm all disproportionate and yeah, I mean, true to my word, I finally, accepted or at least not accepted, I wouldn't say accepted, but I finally uh developed the dad bod that I always knew I was capable of developing. So we're there, we're at that point right now. I don't know if it'll get any worse. Maybe it will.
I'm sure. I'm sure most of that is in your head, but
It's a
it's
weird
understandable.
thing, but
For
yeah.
somebody
I
who's
mean,
always, active, it's
yeah,
understandable.
yeah. I mean, I went from 170, which I was at May 31st, to 148, which I haven't been this small weight wise, and since I was in my early 20s. So, and it's a lot of loss of muscle, a lot of, just even my legs, my one leg looks so much more disproportionate, and it bothers me. I'm like a perfectionist with that sort of thing, and
Yeah,
I look at myself from that standpoint too. Like if I can't come back better than when I left, then I don't want to come back. Then May 31st was the last you saw me.
I respect that.
Yeah,
But I know you're strong. You're gonna be back and you're gonna be better.
absolutely. Well, that's the mission. I'm excited though. I'm excited about what can and possibly can't happen here. So we'll see.
All right. I'm gonna jump to the beginning.
Yeah.
Where were you born and raised, and how was it for you growing up?
I was born in Brooklyn, funny enough. I grew up in Queens, in Ozone Park. John Gotti territory, back on 101st Avenue and 100th Street. If you know, you know.
Okay.
Um, we didn't know what that fish market was at the time, but we found out later on. So yeah, I grew up in that area in Ozone Park. Moved to Long Island maybe when I was 15, 16. So I would say I spent a majority of my developing years on Long Island. Um, I used to go train at in Bed-Stuy. So in 1998, this is right. This is throwing back. This was just I'm aging myself here. In '98, I was training in a place called Reno, Puerto Rico, in Bed-Stuy, where guys like Homicide, Low Key, Low Life Louie, Lathan, Tower Torture, Christopher Street Connection. Shit, edit that. Uh, um, it's Monster Mac, a bunch of guys, that I came up with. Lathan, Louis, Carl's, Eagle Morales, those three guys were the guys that helped me out a lot, and helped train me in the beginning. And then the doghouse came afterwards, and I was there for a while. Got knocked out by Grim Reaper. Uh, it was a it happens. I wasn't. That one you could have thrown next up because that one I got knocked out, and I remember Smokes, Julius Smokes was there because he was doing a run in, and he goes, "You kicked out. You kicked out." I go, "Oh, I never got pinned." So to Grim Reaper, I never lost that match. I got knocked out, but I never lost. I never got pinned.
And how did you get knocked out?
It was a genius of idea, I think, of mine. I don't even know. I think what happened was that he ended up countering and giving me a sunset power bomb. So like the Arabian power bomb, which is so I was going for a superplex. He popped me, uh, got the advantage, flipped over with the power bomb, and snapped the back of my head. I just cracked my neck doing that. That's snapped the back of my head, and like I went stiff. I went stiff. Yeah. But
I
we didn't know what
don't.
CTE was at the time. So, but even it's funny because I was a teenager. I was 16 or 17. And even then I was like, oh, I can't take too many shots like this. Like even then I was like, all right, I gotta take some time away from wrestling. I didn't know what CTE was, but I also knew that getting knocked out like that wasn't a good thing. So I remember taking almost maybe like a half a year off, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Hmm. When did the wrestling bug bite you? And who was your earliest inspiration?
The first match that I recall that I watched that made me want to become a wrestler was Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at Madison Square Garden in 1987 or 88. And that was the main event. Hogan wasn't even on the card. I mean, I was a Hulkamaniac growing up, but like he wasn't even that match. It made me want to become a pro wrestler, you know. And not talk about the match that my uncle almost had with a bunch of guys who they weren't appreciating. Remember those air horns?
Yeah.
He was going ape shit with that thing, and we almost got into. We almost got taken out. It's like seven of them and only like four of us. And I was a kid.
So where did you train? Who did you train under?
So Arena Puerto Rico in Bed-Stuy was where I
Okay.
originally got my start in '98. It was August of 1998. The first person he won't remember this, and I don't. And I always bring it up because I think about how he could have just beat the shit out of me and he didn't. Was Homicide. I was in the ring. He was the first wrestler that I had ever been in the ring with. And I remember we go in, I go in, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to bump, I didn't know how to hit the ropes, I didn't know nothing. I go in there and he goes, work. And I go, I didn't even know what that meant. I'm like, huh? And again, the reason I bring it up is because someone like that could have just beat the shit out of me, and he didn't. He was great. I mean, they hung me upside down and they took my shirt off and they did the cha cha line. Like there was 16 people, I think, around the ring. They go
Oh
all in
my
the ring.
God.
They all started chopping me. You know, and people like, oh, it's barbaric. I go, think about this. Layton Tower Torture was one of the guys who trained me. At that time was 400 pounds, 6'5", 6'6". You know, if he wanted to hurt me, he could have. Them being stiff or throwing chops to me was a rite of passage. I didn't feel a certain way. I didn't feel like. Yeah, I just felt like, okay, in this business, you got to be a little bit tough and gritty. And again, it goes back to me not throwing up the X. It's not because it's just for me, unless it's an extenuating circumstance where someone gets completely knocked out and it's a safety thing, then yeah, by no means
Yeah.
was I ever going to stop or quit. I've gotten injured mid match before. Not, I've gotten hurt mid match. I'm not. This is the first. I would say this is the first major injury I've ever had in 24 years. So, and I'm proud of that. Like I've had some good
That
schedules
says
where
a lot.
yeah, yeah, I'm proud of that because I go. I'm not saying I ran a WWE 1980s double loopy, schedule where there's working 6 days a week, but there were times where I was traveling and wrestling 4 or 5 times a week, multiple matches in one night. You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite ones. I remember I wrestled in Springfield, Massachusetts uh,
Mhm.
in the daytime. I got in the car, drove out to the Bronx to wrestle in the Bronx at 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Then I went to Staten Island the same day, same night, and wrestled at Warriors Wrestling. And I just like the challenge. You know what I mean? That's why I know, like, one, I'd be putting my foot in my mouth if I came back and I was the shits and I wasn't in the shape I need to be. And I just can't have that. I can't be hypocritical. But at the same time, like that's why I'm up for the challenge. 'Cause I know I kind of love testing myself, see how far I can push myself. And that's one of those like, oh, this is a terrible idea.
That's an important characteristic to have in this field. A lot of people don't.
A lot of mental and physical and emotional. I think emotional you can add. I think it's a lot of that. Again, it's not it's an individual thing. I mean, I don't sit here like, oh, it's a generational thing. There might be generations that were either tougher or less. Who doesn't really? It's I think it's really based on the individual, and a lot of people have to look at it from that standpoint. Are you mentally able to do this? Are you physically? Are you emotionally? And I say that because I've seen so many people get hot, like huge, become like overnight sensations, and then the following month or 2 months, they're like, "Oh shit, where did it all go?" You know, and a lot of people can't handle that. Biggie summed it up very well. Uh, I only heard the clip of what he said, and I thought that was very much aligned with how I feel about the wrestling business sometimes.
Mhm. So, I'm aware that you are also a teacher and a trainer, right?
Coach Mike Watt at your service.
Um, at the Fallout Shelter,
Yes, the Full Out Shelter LIC out
which
in
uh,
Kansas City.
which is under the Battle Club Pro Wrestling, correct?
Yeah. It's owned by Joe Kim Morales. Yeah, I'll tell you, like, there have been times where I'll be fully transparent. There have been times where I'm like, all right, I'm done with this shit. You know what I mean? Like, uh, you realize that I realize this. I take accountability for stuff that I didn't do to get me where I needed to be. But I also believe there's a reason why I'm where I'm at. You know what I mean? And I hope for the greater good that it's to leave an impact on the business that I love so much. You know what I mean? And I've had that struggle. Like, oh God, this is I could be. I remember going to college to be an attorney. I went to go to law school, and I go, but I want to be a wrestler, and I want to get out of this. And I remember just taking the first thing I could do to get out of college and graduate my bachelor's. And you look back and I go, okay, was that the right decision? I do feel it. I feel like I've got to travel, do some cool things, meet some awesome people, do something I love. I could be dead tomorrow, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something I loved, and I got to hopefully influence people along the way. Um, but training has helped me a lot. It has helped me to kind of reignite that love for wrestling that I had lost. And I thank Joe Kim Morales. I thank my brother Steve Dumang, who is brilliant. I don't think he gets enough credit for the people he's helped and the stuff that he's attributed to the business. Um, all the other coaches, Masha, Santi, Pena, Prince Ahmed, yeah, all those, every one of the individuals that have been part of the whole thing, Joe K. It's been a great thing. I personally want to see more of our talent be noticed. I think and I'm going to shoot a little bit here. I think it's bullshit that a lot of the talent that we present at Battle Club, not necessarily Battle Club, let's move that away from that because Battle Club is its own entity, but the people at the Fallout, the talent there are a lot of them that you could put them on TV tomorrow and no one would bat an eye. They'd be like, oh, yeah, they belong. And I feel it's just one of those things where I, I don't, I don't burn anyone else's situation because I don't know what they're going through, but I feel it is kind of bullshit that um, there's talent plenty out here. Not in the Northeast. I know like a lot of people like, oh, New England is. I say there's talent everywhere if you look hard enough. And even now, you don't even have to look that hard. It's all available. I mean, there's wrestling available every time, everywhere, every possible like cell phone, laptop, you name it, it's available. YouTube, you got it. But the point being that I truly believe in a lot of the talent that comes out of there, not because I'm one of the trainers, but because I truly believe they're good people, but they work hard and they have something that they can bring to the table. They have value. And I always tell that to the students. I go, it's not enough to be a wrestler. It's not enough to be a personality. You have to have some sort of value. Not everyone's going to see your value. You go where you're seeing that value and you emphasize that and you use that to push you to bigger and better places. Um, I have been stubborn myself in reaching out to certain people in certain places. But that's the sort I have. That's something I have to deal with.
Right.
But I think a lot of the talent that I see at the Fallout Shelter um, should be seen on much bigger platforms. I'm starting to see it little by little. Hopefully, from this point on, we continue to see them to continue to elevate themselves and elevate everyone around them.
Right. That makes a great teacher. Somebody, who wants to see everybody win, who deserves it.
Thank you, thank you. Not everybody wants to see that, I guess. I'll say this, like I know I've rubbed people the wrong way in certain situation when I was a booker for certain places or doing stuff for other companies. That's fine, man. I'm willing to let bygones be bygones because there's people that I want to fucking strangle. But I also realize like I always felt the need to conduct myself as a professional and be respectful. But at the same time, at this point, I also expect the same from me. Meaning, if you come at me a certain way, then you're gonna get the same energy back. Um, I I think people can vouch for me as far as being respectful and professional and nice to an extent, too nice to an extent. But I don't feel like I have to do that anymore. Not because I think I'm important or this greatest thing ever. I just feel like if we're basing it on respect and professionalism, then come at me and my people the same, and there's never going to be a problem, ever. Like, but if you come at me otherwise, then yeah, by all means, I have no problem defending myself or my people. And it's not
Right.
just Twitter thing either. Like I know, like let's whose ass are gonna kick? Like you ain't gonna do shit. Stop, fucking guys and girls. God damn it.
The
Sorry.
key word
Hey,
there
anyone
is
behind me? Somebody
professional.
just posted up in the afros. There you go. Sorry.
That's okay. So, what is the most difficult part about the wrestling business that you feel, and what advice would you give to others looking to get into the business?
There's never just one piece of advice because it's all so especially now, it's just changed, because whatever the big companies were looking at 5 years ago has changed. Whatever's happening, you got to keep up with the current products. I think that's an important part of it. I think for me, the most frustrating thing is that you could have all the talent and all the ability and all the potential, and sometimes it just isn't in the cards. And it might not even be something you did or didn't do. You rubbed somebody the wrong way, they rubbed you the wrong way. It's so once it gets to a point where you've been around and you kind of know, you could always use knowledge and experience from others who've done this at a higher level, always. So always good to get experience or get that feedback. But when you reach a certain point, you stick around long enough, some people will find a reason to not like you. So um, I think that's the hard thing. Sometimes where I've seen plenty of so many talented individuals. I will completely exclude myself from any of that. I'm gonna go do everything they were supposed to do, get on, do everything. I mean, whether it's character work, whether it's their physique, and then just never get the opportunities that they probably should have gotten, you know, and and that's anything in life. You could, and then ultimately
Yeah.
you could do whatever it is that you're calling, and you could do everything right, and either it's going to work out for you or it won't. So there's always, that's any walk of life, that's any business, that's any profession. For those who are starting to come in, I say study the hell out of this thing. Like study what the people that are successful. For me, again, full transparency and accountability. There are people in our area that were doing well that I never bothered to open, like talk to them because I was like, well, they got to be doing something like shady to get to where I like. I mean,
Right.
and that's not necessarily all the case. They went out of their way to get themselves noticed by the right people, build those relationships, and it worked out. For me, it was hard because I came up in an era where we didn't really like if you didn't like somebody, you knew it. Like we weren't hiding it. We weren't trying to political. Like the guys back then, it's like if they didn't like you or you didn't like them, you were either gonna stiff the shit out of each other in the ring and you went to the back and you weren't friends. Yeah, all right, cool, see you. But it wasn't one of those things where like I see a lot now where people use like social media as a way to try to like politic or hurt people's careers. Um, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
weird thing to do, considering there's nobody on this planet, if you're human, that is completely flawless of doing stupid shit or saying stuff, stuff that they probably didn't mean, They're all human. I fuck up daily. But that's my biggest thing is just like study the business, study the current products, study what's popular, what people are doing to get to that next level. And I'm not saying be phony. That was my biggest issue too. Like I was like, I don't want to be a phony. Like if I don't like you, I'm not gonna try to act like we're friends, And that's not necessarily the case. You could learn from everybody at some point, even the people that aren't doing it correctly, you could learn what not to do. And if you could take that and be sponge for the first few years and take stuff that works, take stuff that doesn't, and I think that's a good little formula, if you will. But there's no way, there's no one piece of advice. Sorry, it's I go off on these tangents.
Absolutely. I agree. So I do. There's a question that I ask all the wrestling talent that I interview, and it's just out of curiosity. If you were to get a call from a mainstream company, who would you like it to be and why?
That's a good question. It man, everybody wants to work for the biggest company, right? Because it's more like WWE is like, and I will support anywhere and everywhere where people in this business can make a living, can feed their families, entertain others, and do it on a broader scale, whether that's AEW, NXT, WWE. I would say for me, I would like the opportunity to like get my hands dirty or busy or whatever in the NXT or WWE. I know a lot of the talent in AEW. I've been in the ring with them. I've shared the locker rooms with plenty of them. So that's also very intriguing. It's a hard one because it's not so much like, oh, like they're gonna call me tomorrow. It's just one of those things where like it's intriguing in very different aspects of what the challenges would be. It's not so much like to me, it's like, okay, is it the money? Is it like, okay, how am I gonna try to get over with this crowd or this type of audience? You know, for
Mhm.
me, I think stylistically, I do look on changing that as well in the future. Um, I think WWE is more aligned with what I would look at, but it'd be foolish for me to be like, oh well, not MLW, AEW, NWA, Japan, all those like.
Right.
I definitely want to go to Japan at one point before I call it quits.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I'm wearing a New Japan shirt. Does that qualify?
Who would be your dream opponent?
My dream opponent, damn, it's a good one. I mean, unfortunately, he passed away, but I think Eddie Guerrero was the greatest of all time. Like Eddie could do it all. He could chain, he could fly, he could brawl, he could cut a promo, he could be a heel, he could be a face. I just don't the overall complete package, and he could wrestle. Like I don't know, man. I just it wasn't anybody like even now. Like like I look at like guys like Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, like fantastic. Zack Sabre Jr. I love that. I love that style of wrestling. I wish, to be quite honest, I wish I honed that style of wrestling. I do that style of wrestling more in training than I do in actual matches
The
because I
ring.
have this mechanism in my brain that I'm like, okay, well, fans aren't really going to get behind this unless it is a Zack Sabre Jr. match or Jonathan Gresham. But I love that style of wrestling. I love the chaining. I love, you know, world sports wrestling. Johnny Saint, stuff like that. Like, but I don't. I never got comfortable enough in my own skin to do it like in a full match and continue without having to high impact stupid shit like lion salts to the outside on guardrails.
Do you have any
Great question.
stories? Yeah. Do you have any road story that is your favorite to share?
Bro stories. Oh my gosh. I know I have them written down. Like I have a journal. Like it's right. Like I have like way too many journals for someone who's I just
It's a good outlet. Yeah.
it is a great outlet. I encourage a lot of people if you can't get any type of like therapy, I think it's very therapeutic for me to be able to write stuff down. Um, some of it for public consumption, some of it not so much. I don't. I mean, there's so many of them, so I don't want to like bastardize and be like, "Oh, this is better than it." No, I will tell you, there was a guy named Thunderbolt. I used to we used to travel with him. It was me, this guy Jordan Schneider. He's the guy who ended up owning FWE. He was the owner of FWE. He used to go as Forrest Naboka, myself, him, and I want to say Mike Donovan. Donovan might remember this. We were wrestling Pittsburgh. I don't know why, but because Thunderbolt used to travel a lot with Chris Candido, and Chris Candido used to travel after some shows. He'd go to Denny's in his wrestling gear. He'd have an over jacket. He'd have his trunks and his boots. So Thunderbolt follows suit. So we're traveling after a show. We're gonna go grab some food. So he's all in his gear. He has is a Thunderbolt shirt. He has his biker shorts, knee pad boots, his whole gear is gone. I was in gear two, I think. Donovan wasn't. Donovan decided to be the smarter of the crew and wear his regular clothes. And Naboka too had his gear on. So we end up crashing a wedding. We end up going to a random ass wedding, and we go in there and we're hanging out, and, and like we could not have been so out of place. I mean, it was like it had like this is Pittsburgh, which is Kentucky North. Sorry, I love Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was my second home, so I say it with love. But this area of Pittsburgh, uh, you know, Thunderbolt, Polish, I think he was. Um, Jordan, Jewish, me and Donovan, Puerto Ricans, and we're in there. I'm like, and we're in our wrestling gear, and this is ridiculous. And I don't even know why we did it to begin with, but I think, it's just one of those cool memories. I think back to that, I was like, man, that was like 15, 20 years ago. I'm like, that's why you get in the business. Like I always tell the students, I go, listen, the money, yeah, you get good enough, you can call your shots here and there, but you really, it's about like, until you get to that point, it's really about those moments and getting to just talk about them like we're talking about now. But yeah, we got kicked
Right.
out. Needless to say, we weren't invited for too long.
So when you're not injured, because you take your health and your physique seriously. What is a typical day like in your training regimen?
I'm very hard on myself. I actually don't think I've looked that good for a while. I think it's a little bit of body dysmorphia. You know what I mean? Like I remember, like I'm good friends with Romeo Roselli, and it's like one of those things where I remember Romeo, like when I was younger, and Romeo came to wrestle for BPW, and I was like, I thought I was getting myself in shape. I wasn't. It was, I'd gone down weight, I'd, gotten a little bit shredded. I took my shirt off, and then Romeo takes his shirt off, and just to get warmed up because he was managing Deanna Perrazzo, and I go, holy shit, dude, I got to go wrestle with a sweater now. Like, you look at guys like that physique, I go, fuck, like, I can't, like, that guy, like, 2% body fat, you know what I mean? With abs, like, 10 pack is a 12 pack of abs. And so, when you compare yourself with that and other things, I've been very hard on myself, which is one of the reasons why I'm very adamant about when I come back, if I come back, that if I'm not at my best, then it's it. I told Romeo and I told a lot of people, saying, I told Giovanni, I go, if I'm not going to be at my best, then I don't want to be. I think it's bullshit. I see people come back from injuries worse than when they came back, when they left, and that's not me. Like I do take it seriously. I've always said to myself, the biggest compliment I could have gotten when I was younger was, "Hey, you look like a wrestler," and it took me many years of being made fun of, um, not picked on, because I'll tell you right now, I was never bullied. I would never let that happen. I would I'm not a troublemaker, but I won't back down from anybody because that's just not the way I was raised. I would fight big kids in school because I didn't like bullies. Um, but
That's great, that's
my
great,
thing was like,
brother.
but right, exactly. So for me, I was like, I'm very hard on myself physically. For me, it's very standard. I change it up every so often, but um, just weightlifting and cardio. As far as like gym stuff, that's my the biggest thing I can tell anybody. and this is where I had to learn a hard lesson, is your body does catch up to you, and not in a bad way. But you have to realize that if you were eating the shit that you're eating back in when you were 24 and you were losing weight and things were good and physically, when you're eating that same amount when you're in your late 30s, early 40s, it does not translate. Your body does not know the difference. It will slow down, your metabolism slows down. And I'll tell you what, I used to be able to, no bullshit, because I remember telling this to Kevin Sullivan, God rest his soul. Um, he was one of the guys that put me over, had no reason to. Um, but Kevin, I remember telling Kevin, uh, because oh man, you look in great shape, and I told him, can I be honest with you? I ate like shit this week. I literally got on the treadmill, no Stairmaster, for 45 minutes with sweatbands and everything on, and a hoodie, and I sweated out like 45 minutes of cardio. Then I'd go to the event and I'd wrestle. And that was like when I was in my early 30s, mid 30s. Like now, you couldn't do that. You got to control yourself. You got to control your eating. That to me is essential. And there have been times like right now, not doing anything. So it's hard to control myself.
Right. That's so true. How do you prepare for a big match? Like any specific techniques or mindfulness?
Somebody asked me about that about like earlier about like being nervous, and I definitely think there's moments. There's moments where you realize like, oh, there's a reason I'm here. There's a reason that I've been placed in this situation after all these years, and that's the confidence level that you need to have. You know, like okay, I'm nervous. You don't know what's going to happen, but there's a reason why we're here at this moment and why I've been given this opportunity. And when you put that in your head, it calms you down because I go, well, I know how to wrestle. I know how to work around nuances. I know how to like. I think about worst case scenarios and the best case scenarios, and I know that if there's anything that goes awry, like I know how to recover. And if you have that confidence as a wrestler, I think that that helps. I don't really have, you know, I do shower in something called hot stuff. I know a lot of the wrestlers, a lot of the boys and the girls, not necessarily fans of it. I need it. I'll be the first one to say I don't think I necessarily need it, but I do. It is a pre-match ritual where I shower in it because it warms my body up. It keeps me, everything, the blood flowing with the niacin, and it helps. It does help me get a little bit of a pump, and I like to shine. So that's it. That's as far as that. I'll bang out some push-ups, some resistance bands, um, squats, get the body warmed up and going, and then just I think about it. I go, you know what? Like I'm here for a reason. They gave me this spot for a reason. Whether it's the opening match or the main event, like there's something being, and that's why I truly believe promoters have to get back to. By the way, on a side note, like every spot should have a reason for it, in my opinion. I don't think you need to like have an event with 40 different talents just to fill out a card. I think if you have a purpose for each individual, that goes a long way. You know what I mean? And then it's as long as that's within a justifiable means, then. But I feel like too many times spots are just given up because so and so's a friend or I owe someone a favor. Like
Right.
it doesn't lend value to the product. But that's just me. I don't, that's my opinion.
I'm totally with you. I don't like that. We're best friends wrestling, and you're booked here because we're friends. Why wrestling?
Oh boy.
What makes you stand out from the rest? Mm.
I mean, I carry a giant barbell on occasion to the ring with me. I just think it's a little bit of combination of the pizzazz and style, along with the experience. Like all things aside, when I'm at my best, I know I can be put on TV. I mean, I've been on TV a few times already. Nothing again, and it bugs me to it bugs me for a couple reasons because I go like the ECW arena is I've still yet to have a full scale match at that building. You know what I mean? Like I go, man, you guys just like the business. It's like it's a rib. It has to be a rib from Ring of Honor to MLW. to I remember wrestling for Adam Flash back in like 2010. They had an event there at the ECW Arena. It was the New Alhambra, and that venue, as storied as it was, I've never had a full scale match, and it bothers me. Um, but what sets me apart, I think, is just the experience level, the capacity, the tenacity. You know what I mean? Like just that mixture of like that old mentality of ruggedness and toughness mixed with maybe the new level of mentality of how the wrestling business is. Like you can't tell me that I haven't tried every aspect of the wrestling business because I've done like whether it's mat wrestling, whether it's grappling, whether it's lucha, whether it's death match wrestling. I've done death matches. Again, not calling myself a death match wrestler, so easy there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not claiming I'm a death match wrestler. I'm a wrestler, a pro wrestler that's competed in a death match. An entirely different thing. For some, I don't know. I've done gimmick stuff. You talk about the barbell getting thrown into the ring, like at Pro Wrestling Magic that got 40 million views. That's ridiculous. I always think that's funny because I got hate. I got so much hate for that, which I live for this shit.
That's something good. Disguise that
It
something.
doesn't. A lot of people are bothered. I don't care, guys. Like, I mean, you could throw whatever you want at me. I think you should expect it. You're in a public forum. You're gonna get. I thought it was funny because that got more heat than when I went through the chair that one time, and it was well, the battle was like, okay, all that barbell, that shit, that's phony, that's bullshit, and then the dive through the chair was, well, that's so real, like that's so reckless, like. I mean, you damn if you do, damn if you don't. So that's when I learned that it's all bullshit, anyways. So who cares? Like none of it has any meaning in my life, in the grand scheme of things. And we're just all here for such a limited time that why boggle yourself down with the negative bullshit?
Right. Um, when I first seen Mike Law in action, guys, I was like, first of all, I thought the whole barbell thing was cool as fuck. I was like, this is something new. And in wrestling, you don't always get something new, something different. So it's like a breath of fresh air. Like you're automatically attracted to him, and like a magnet. It's true. And I know nobody
Thank
likes
you.
to sound like conceited or ego. It's not even that. He has every right to feel that he's good because he is. And I
Thank you.
respect you. And I want nothing but the best for you. You deserve it for
Oh,
real.
thank you so much. I
And
appreciate it.
I just
It's
I want
hard
to
to
thank
stay
you
humble sometimes with
for
these
your
things,
time
but
today. Because I know you, even though
thank
you're on injury, you have your own schedule to do. And
you.
thank you for making time for us.
Of
And this
course,
will
of
be
course.
another wrestler's survival guide.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Uh, Definitely like to see you again in the future. All right,
Same
already
here. We'll
know.
see.
Subscribe to BMF Goddess. Follow the Colossal Mike Law on Instagram. You have a YouTube? The Battle Club?
I do.
Is it
I'm focusing. I'm going to be focusing on other things outside of the wrestling business with that. But yes, we're going to be doing a whole revamp of that YouTube page soon.
all right? Cool. Thank you again. Have a good night, guys. You already know. May the force be with you.